Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your 2025.Q3 Showcase webinar. So we're just waiting on extra people joining today's session. We've had a number of registrations and we are waiting for others to attend. So I'm just going to allow another minute or two before we dive into this webinar this morning. As I said, we'll just allow another a minute or so before we get underway to allow for as many people to join and attend the session as possible. And I think with that, let's make a start then. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2025.Q3 Showcase webinar, whereby this morning we'll take some time through some demonstrations to show you some of the key features that are coming within this next release of 123. I'm going to run you through some slides first of all, before I hand over to some other members of the team to actually carry out those demonstrations. You'll note that for the session, you are all muted and cameras off. So as we run through this webinar, you won't be able to unmute and verbally ask questions. However, there is the chat and Q&A functionality that we are going to monitor collectively as a team. So if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them on that Q&A or the chat. We'll monitor those. One of us will endeavour to get back to you on those questions during the session, or maybe it's something that we'll take offline with yourself or follow up with an email or schedule a meeting to discuss further. So we will endeavour to answer as many questions as we can, but if we don't answer your question, don't worry. It's not that we've missed it, it's just that we've made the decision to take that offline with yourselves. Hopefully everybody can see my screen okay there. I've got a PowerPoint presentation that I'm currently sharing with you all. And if we just go to the next slide here with the agenda for today, as I've mentioned, I plan to run through a couple of slides with yourselves, whereby I want to reintroduce you to the Fortero 123Insight team, so that we are familiar with the team that are actively working on 123 and people that you will predominantly engage with. I'll run you through some initial changes that are coming in 25.Q3. Again, just verbally, there's no need for demonstration on those points. I'll then hand over to Jake, who will take you through demo 1. He'll then hand over to Matt to take you through demo 2. We'll look to have a short 10-minute comfort break before we get back together for Hayden to run you through demo 3, and then I will wrap up this webinar by running through a few additional slides on this presentation, in which we'll talk through other functional changes that are coming in 25.Q3, what else is new for 2025, so not functional changes as such, but what else have we done this year. We'll discuss options for upgrading. I will highlight a new CRM initiative that we're going to look to launch very soon, and then we'll wrap up and say goodbye at that point. So your 123 Fortero team, as I said, I thought it was worth reintroducing the team members to you because we have had some changes recently. So I didn't think it would hurt to have a reminder of who is actively now working with 123. So myself, Kelly Jones, for those of you who I've not had the pleasure of speaking to previously, I head up our newly formed professional services team. That team consists of Ian Taylor, who is our product education consultant. He predominantly leads our training courses and creates and maintains our training material. We have Tom Potter, who is Senior Technical Project Management. He primarily leads the new implementations for the new customer registrations. He takes them through that implementation process. And then we have Jake Allen, Matt Flane, and Hayden Law, all of which are our business process consultants. Their job is to deliver those additional services that you may require. So the on-site services, online services via Microsoft Teams, and will engage with you if there's any technical service that you require. They will engage with you to fully understand your requirement before then handing that over to our technical team to actually deliver that service. So that's my team in a nutshell, professional services. We then have our customer support team, which hasn't changed for some time, but a reminder that we have the customer support team that's headed up by Andy Terry. And within his team, he has Vicky Holmes, Carrie Carpenter, Lee Weaver, and Charlotte Lamport. So they're the ones that, of course, when you call, email with a question, with a technical issue, they're the guys that are answering that phone, answering those emails, and again, you'll have that communication with. Over on product development, again, not really changed much. We've got that team headed up by Rachel Brown, and she has Kunal working for her as a software architect. They're very much driving the development of the core 123Insight system. And you'll find Andy's name there as well. Andy heads up 123 Mobile. So again, he's driving the development of the 123 Mobile application. Now, a few other names then to draw to your attention, because again, you may have heard from some of these people already, or if you haven't done so, you may hear from them in the future, which is Anelli. She is our product manager. She works very closely with Rachel with regards to the development of 123 and helps from a strategy point of view of driving the product forward. We have Joe, who is our account manager. I'm sure he's reached out to a number of you by now and made introductions there. He is very much looking after our customer base. He handles a lot of the commercial aspects. So if you have any requests, if you've got any services that you require, then quite often Joe is your first port of call to talk about those needs and to get those services booked in and discuss options around those services that you require. And then lastly, we have our business development representative, Josh. He essentially handles the new business. So as we get new prospective companies engaging with us, Josh looks after them through that initial journey, that sales journey from going through the demonstrations, learning more about 123 to then becoming a customer. Now, whilst I wouldn't typically expect yourselves to have a huge amount of communication with him, if you do find yourself in a situation where your company acquires another company and they do require a separate 123 installation, a separate database, they will need training and go through that implementation route and be treated as a new customer, then throughout that process, you may very well have engagement with Josh as you discussed that. So those people on the screen are the key personnel actively working on 123 on a day-to-day basis that you may very well have some kind of communication with depending on your requirements. So some initial changes that are coming in 25.Q3, and I didn't think it was worthy of a demo at this point. So just to run you through a couple of key initial points. Starting off with Forterro branding. Through the acquisition by Forterro, we have gone through a rebranding process in which our company logo has changed. Now that company logo has now been reflected and updated in 123 itself. So previously, when you first logged into 123 and on that login screen, you saw the 123Insight logo. Once you've actually logged in the top left corner, you saw the 123 logo, etc. And all those various different places, that logo has now been replaced with the new Forterro logo that we have. So that's a fairly sort of quick thing that we've done there, and fairly easy to spot. Once you see the demonstrations that the team are going to be leading shortly, you'll instantly see those new logos that I'm referring to. And also, again, something minor, the software itself used to be 123Insight, all one word with a lowercase I. We've, as part of the rebranding, have changed that to 123Insight with an uppercase I. So again, something minor, but again, in all instances, in the software itself, where you see 123Insight, the old name with the lowercase I has now been replaced with the new name, which has that uppercase I. Also, in 25.Q3, we'll find our next wave of reports being merged into DevExpress. So you should be aware by now that a couple of versions ago, we made the decision to adopt DevExpress for our report customization. So that's the tool that we're now using for customizing those standard reports. And slowly over the last few versions, we have been migrating more and more of those standard reports over from Component 1 into DevExpress. So we already have a fair list in DevExpress already, but we have the next wave coming now in 25.Q3. I won't read them all out. You can see them listed on screen there. But just to highlight some of the key reports that I know people were waiting for, sales invoices, sales acknowledgements, quotations, dispatch notes are some of those key reports that have now been migrated over to DevExpress in 25.Q3. So at that point, I'm going to hand over to Jake as he takes you through our first demonstration of some of those new features coming in 25.Q3. And he'll give you a run through of those highlights and then go into the demonstration. So I'll hand over to Jake at that point.
Perfect, thank you. Just to confirm, you can hear me. I've had a lot of technical issues with Teams, so I want to make sure I can actually be heard. Perfect, okay, thank you. Right, just going to steal the screen. Okay, so as Kelly outlined on that slide, we'll be covering the add edit parts redesign, the new stock inquiry screen, predefined bins, default bins for or by products, and the search and select grid replacement. So starting with the add edit parts redesign, if I load up a part of ours, you can see we've changed it a little bit. So we've simplified this screen. We've made it less cluttered. We'll have the part creation information at the bottom left here. We have an enlarged picture, of course, and we've essentially moved some of the costing information for easier permissions restriction, which we'll get to in a bit. Issues have now moved to the methods and versions tab. And so if I go into methods and versions, we can see we've split out, we've got part versions, part issues at the bottom, and we've also got the version cost data in its own little tab here. So it will be easier for restriction. In settings, we've split them out into the functional areas. So we've got stores, engineering, sales, finance, and carriage. So carriage is now sitting under the settings tab. You can see the inquiries tab is gone. So that stock information has now moved to a stock inquiry screen, which can be accessed through the little eye icon here. I'll show it in a bit more detail, but I just click it quickly here. Apologies, this is a fresh database. It's taken a bit of time, but on your database, this wouldn't happen. So yeah, I will go into a bit more detail about this in a minute, but you can get it to it very easily from that eye. And then if you press the eye again, it will take you back to edit parts. There are a few bits that we've neatened up. So we have the characteristics tabs. It's just a bit more space. The costs tab. So we've got the landed costs at the bottom here. And byproducts have now moved to the engineering. For serialized parts, when making serialized parts, we've now, when making a part that already exists, a serialized part, we've now added a pop-up to help you essentially handle that process. So if I go through to my mice, for example, which are not a serialized part, if I create them as a serialized part, I'll now get a pop-up to say you're switching on serial number control and you have this many on hand. And if I click OK, I can now add the serial number and any serial comments. I can do all the standard range from and to. So it just makes that process a little bit smoother for you. As mentioned before, we've split these areas out to make it sort of easier to restrict permissions for you. And so we've also made it easier on the administration side as well. So if I go into my admin page and I go to roles administration, I load up, for example, David, we can now see that for add edit company and add edit parts, we've now got sub tabs where you can restrict different information across the add edit part screen. So it has made it a bit more intuitive. And so you can see for David on the add edit part screen, I've restricted costs and I've restricted the version cost data. So if I was to log out of Janet, log in as David, if I were to look at a part again, so if I load 377 up, I go to costs, this is now permissions restricted. So if I don't want anyone seeing that, they don't have to. And in the methods and versions tab, I can now restrict the version cost data as well. I'm going to log back in as Janet. And of course, as Janet, because I have the permissions, access those tabs. Moving on to the new stock inquiry. So as you saw, I could click the I button on the add edit page, but there is also, the sub tab in stores. And if I load up, say, for example, my base units, I think, you can see we've got all our sort of stock on hand information. So we've got our on hand quantity, including quarantine, due in, due out, any dispatches or works order issues. And if you have, two-stage dispatch or projects or anything like that, that will also appear in here in the little spaces. If I have a non-stock part, instead of it now showing as a 0 on hand, it now shows as non-stock. So it does make it a bit simpler and easier to say, this is a non-stock part. It's not just we've got none of them. Like the reverse, as I said, with the add edit part screen, if I click the I information tab, well, I think it's because I've created a new system, but essentially it will take you back to the add edit part screen. And if you have projects or anything like that, there will be additional eye icons, which will then take you to their respective screens. We also have the issue summary at the bottom here. And we've now got the summary tab here. So we can see a summary of the stock. I wonder if I've got anything I can. So I've got a by location, I can do it by method and version, and I can do it by part issue. For future movements, We've now added the consolidation window information and split works orders as well. For period history, the screen is the same by default, but it will load your current year just for a sort of performance increase. Of course, you can push these dates out if you want, but it will just default to the this year. I don't think I have anything on that. Moving on to predefined bins. I know it's something that a lot of people have been waiting for. So we now have the option for predefined bins, which we can sort of turn on in the settings and stock options. So we can see here we've got predefined bins, and that will of course work with forced bin mandatory if you want it to. You can carry on with free format if you wish, of course, but once switched on, if you do want to switch it on, you will need to make sure that you have added your bins. Otherwise, of course, your stores have got nowhere to put their stock. So to do that, we've made that a bit simpler for you as well. If I go into location codes, you can see I can see there's a bin area down here, and I can manually create, and I could do A1. But you know, if you want to do all of your bins, of course, we've made that a bit easier for you as well. So we can export a template. So if we do bins, open up for me on a different screen. And so very simple little template here. I can add main stores. What we'll do is we'll create, say, A1. Oh, sorry, I've already added A1. So we'll do B1, and we'll do it all the way through to, 10 maybe. Do 11. And so with this, just to make it as simple as possible, these fields will all be imported in capitals. If there are any duplicates, they won't be imported. If there's sort of upper and lowercase, they're all just going to be sort of imported uppercase. And if they're too long, they won't be imported as well. So I've done 11 bins here. So if I do a lowercase b11, just to show you the amount that will come through on the import, because it will tell you how many have been imported, and therefore you can see which ones have actually been imported. So if I load that same bins, you can see only 11 have been imported, but on that spreadsheet I actually put 12. So on the main stores, you can see now I've got all my B1 through 11. Yeah, made it a bit more easy to import when you want to set those up. If we go to add edit parts, yeah, I do want to save those. And if I want to add those to a part, we can now see that we can search and select from this list of predefined bins. And if I wanted to free type, it's not going to allow me to do that. It has to be from the existing list. The bins cannot be edited. You will need to delete it and then re-add it essentially. So if there are any parts in those bins, you'll need to change that. So if there are any parts in that bin, we give you the screen to change that default bin, or you can clear it if it's not bin mandatory. So if I go to delete this row, it's not going to let. Oh, it shouldn't let me. I don't think I've got any stock in that. So I've added it somewhere else. Let me just double check for you. Oh, A4. This one. I do not know where I put my stock. Bear with me 2 seconds. Let me just double check if it's another database. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Apologies, there's a couple issues with my database. I think it's something to do with my computer right now. I think unfortunately we'll have to sort of show you that separately if you need be, but essentially it will say that you need to change it, and you'll get a nice screen to say where it's going to be put. Apologies about that. If it's mandatory, it will also appear in the enterprise incomplete data screen. And speaking of bins, we now also have the option for a default bin for byproducts. So let me load that up for you. So we'll go into settings and engineering. You can see we can add a default location for byproduct of A1, or select that from the predefined list. For the search and select grid replacement, so we've of course made changes to the search and select grids so that it's more cohesive throughout the rest of the system. So we can of course still search and select fields and do search across all fields. So if I go into add edit parts, go into search and select, of course you can still do your standard filtering. So if I wanted to filter down and just see the brackets or anything with 3 in, we've of course also got the sort of master search, so we could just do the bracket there. Still got those, but we now also have more ability. So let me just right click here. For the filter editor, so previously you were only able to have 5 filters. Now we can have essentially as many as we want. We can keep adding. So if you want to add any filters, it's a lot more sort of intuitive, and you can add a lot more of them. And we also have the sort of conditional formatting. So if I wanted to make a rule, if I want to see what parts I have stock for, if we do is greater than 0.01, and I want to see it in green, if I have any stock of that, we'll fill it with green. I can apply that. Of course, I can also apply that to the row. So conditional formatting, a lot easier to filter down for the information that you need. And so that is my section done, and I'll pass across to Matt now. Apologies for the technical issues.
Thank you, Jake. I'm actually going to just quickly jump in there before we do hand over to Matt to say thank you for that demonstration of the key points. I've just shared my screen again with everybody. So just to recap on the key points that were covered in that first demo, which is a redesign of add edit parts, which, as Jake mentioned, the key purpose of that is to simplify the screen, but also to allow better security permissions. So much like what we did with Add Edit Company, being able to set those permissions down to the different tabs that we see in there, so much more controlled. That's then led on to the creation of the new stock inquiry screen, those predefined bins that Jake showed you. I know a lot of people have been asking for those, so hopefully that is a nice new feature for some of you out there, so we're not having to free format and type them in every time now. It's nice and standardized, along with the default bins for byproducts and that search and select grid replacement. So thank you very much, Jake. just before I hand over to Matt, then let's just move over to the next slide, in which here in demo 2, Matt is going to take you through labels and the fact that those labels have been moved over to DevExpress. Again, hopefully, a lot of you out there will be pretty excited about that one, because I know there's been a restriction in the past of it can only be Brother label printers. So hopefully that's a nice new feature. And Matt will also run you through or highlight a couple of new exports that we've introduced in 25.Q3. So again, at that point, I'll put myself on mute and now hand over to Matt to take you through that second product demonstration.
Is that a little bit better? Apologies, technical difficulties here. Seems to be spreading around the team from that, Jake. Cool. So you should be seeing my 123Insight pop up, which is going to go through first off the DevExpress labels. So as Kelly mentioned, we've now moved to DevExpress for our label printing within 123. This opens up a wider breadth of printers that can be used. So you're no longer tethered to the Brother P-Touch software, all of that. We're now looking at just a broader sense of anything you can think of for printing labels. We also have standard label templates that are now in 123 and able to be edited and changed as per your needs, which is something we know that the wider 123 community has been asking for a long time. So hopefully you're all excited for this one. So enough of me waffling about it. Let's have a quick look at the actual labels. So if we pop into admin, customization, and manage reports. So it is under manage reports just because DevExpress kind of bundles them a little bit together there. So let's find label tool. So just as you would with any other report customization, you do need to make a copy of it. So we'll just call this 2025 tool label. A cheeky little copy of that. There we are. And then again, exactly how you would edit a report normally. We'll then go into manage report. Oh, not manage report. Until I am already in. There we are. DevExpress is what I meant to go into there. Give that a second to pop up. Oh. And of course, it jumps onto the wrong screen. There we are. It's the same as you do with all loading of reports and stuff within DevExpress. You just do load from database and pick the one that you've just copied. 2025 tool label for myself here. And there we are. You can see it's pulled through the label in DevExpress, fully editable as you would expect. And what I will do just for a little demonstration is pop a picture box in here. This, for example, could be your company logo, or any picture you really fancy. This is where, good, we've got the good old Fortero logo there. So just stick that at the bottom there. That's the sort of gist of what I'm going to show you today for the labels. For more sort of an in-depth how to use them, how to customize them, all that, we do have our report designer course that either is already updated or will be getting updated to include these DevExpress labels. So reach out to Joe or your business process consultant to get a bit more information on how to book onto that course. Set the changes. So the other two things that I'm just going to quickly show you through is the stores request issue Excel export and export period history Excel exports. So a couple of good additions to our suite of Excel exports that we know the 123 community does quite like their Excel exports. So let's have a quick look at the stores one first. What one am I looking for? Request issues. There we are. Just call it hello. So like normal, we just do that. That. And we can see here we've added a parameter form for this as well to help you really drill down into the data. So you can do issued to from date, sorry. You can drill down into component number from here as well. For the sake of today, I'm going to leave it as all as per usual with our demonstrations. I'm going to kick the date all the way back as far as I can because our databases have some very old data in them, and hit the export. You did see there at the bottom, you could select from request numbers as well, but I've just kind of popped through. We can see here, popped through all the data you could want for a stores request. So we see Janet requested one on the 15th of September at sequence number 50. As I say, it's another one that you can sort of then filter through, drill down on, and pull that data out as needed. But I won't sit in the Excel too long, so I'm sure all of you are way more au fait with Excel than I am. I just sit there and make little tables. Next one we got is export period history. So if we have a quick look at that. Period history. Bad habit of mine, just putting random numbers in there. But again, we can see here we can do part number from and part number to, period from and period to, as well as drill down on the product group codes or the method types. So for myself, again, like I did earlier, I'm just going to absolutely send the date so that I get a nice bit of data in there. So let's open this up. I can see here an absolute plethora of data, and in a live database, you're probably going to want to use those parameter forms a bit more to drill down the data. Luckily for mine, apparently my company has not been doing much over the past 10 to 15 years in this database. But it's got all the information you could possibly want from part period export database, part period export. So yeah, another one that when you upgrade to V25, definitely worth just a quick export of this to have a little play around and see what information is viable for you to use in your day-to-day lives. And with that, I believe that is everything I've got to show you for today. So I'll quickly stop sharing. And I believe we'll be on to a quick 5 to 10 minute comfort break. Am I correct, Kelly?
You are indeed. So thank you very much, Matt, for your demonstration there. And again, just to summarise, those label templates have now moved over to DevExpress. That means that hopefully you'll find it easier to customise those label templates, and the fact that we've now got standard label templates, so we're not having to create them from scratch each time, is hopefully quite a nice feature. Opens up the ability for us to choose exactly which label printer we're going to be sending those labels to. We're not restricted to the Brother label anymore. And a couple of nice new exports that we've introduced there for the issued stores requests and the period history that Matt demonstrated both of. So thank you again, Matt. As he said, we will now look to take a short comfort break because we're sort of halfway through this webinar now. I know I'd originally scheduled this for 3 hours, but I totally over-egged it, and it won't be a total of 3 hours. So we'll have a 10-minute comfort break now. Let's return at 20 past 10, at which point we'll hand over to Hayden as he takes you through our third product demonstration. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll look to restart at 20 past 10. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. We're now going to move over to our third and final product demonstration for the webinar this morning, Demo 3, which will be led by Hayden, as he takes you through some other key functional changes that we've done in 25.Q3. As you can see from the list on screen there, he's going to talk through issue history on a sales order. He'll run through an option that we've added to allow for tax information to be shown on certain documentation. So again, hopefully a nice feature that a lot of you were asking for. And then he'll move on to some additional visibility that we've added into the planning screen and the trial kit functionality found in the structures window, which is to show the next cost break quantity and information and supplier lead time. Again, hopefully some valuable bits of information in those two screens moving forward. So at that point, I'll hand over to Hayden to take you through that product demonstration.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Hello, everyone. Just going to share my screen. And can everyone see my screen okay? Well, Kelly, can you see my screen?
All good.
Cool.
All good.
There we go. Thank you. Okay. So just got a few things to run through here. So first of all, we'll jump in with the customer sales status changes we've done. So what we've added is when customer sales status is changed within a data company, we now have the option to update issue history on sales orders related to that company. So as we are here, we can see that, and sorry, I'm just going to ask a colleague to turn their speaker down because I can hear myself and that's upsetting me. Sorry, give me a sec. Very sorry. So under the customer tab of the company, we have this new tick box here. So when we change a sales status, so to just on hold, for example, we can now have a tick box here that says to set all orders to this customer status. Now this will affect all already printed out sales orders associated with this customer. So I've blue Peters it a bit and I've got a sales order that we've already printed out. But when we hit that, we've got that ticked. Now if we jump into sales order inquiry, and we've got this one here. And now if we jump into issue history, we can now see that it will update that individual sales order, and that will change all sales orders associated with that customer that have been printed. So nice short and sweet one there. Another short and sweet one is we have now added the option to show text information on certain documents. So if we look in settings and options, so we're going to look at sales options and purchase options. First look at sales options. You see we've got an added tick box here of show text information on acknowledgements, that's sales acknowledgements. So we can take that. Also show you the same in purchase options. Now here, show text information on purchase orders, purchase contracts, and invoice note reports. So we can take that as well. So we jump into documents. And select sales acknowledgement. We can print this one off here, and we see the order status listed as on hold as it's updated and pushed out to the sales order. And last one we showed you. Forget this document and this will take. Oh no, that was way quicker than I thought it would be. That's nice. But now we can see we have tax information that's been added to the standard sales acknowledgement. And I'll just show you the same on a purchase order. Now I may need to enact a PO suggestion to get them to appear. Unless I've got anything in here. I don't. So we'll be jumping into this planning window for the next thing I'm going to show you. But right now, it's going to get purchase order going. And we can choose. There you go. So I'm going to print purchase order. And we see we have our tax information on this document too. And that'll be the same for the purchase contract and the advice note reports as well. Yeah. So next, we'll show you, as I said, jumping into planning. So here I'm going to show that we've added some new columns to the purchase tab. So if we, so again, now I'll full screen this one. So what we've done here is we've added cost break information to this window. So we scroll along here, see just here that we've added next cost break quantity information here, as well as the next cost break unit costs and value changes. So it means when you're taking a look at the plan screen and you want to know, well, should we be ordering more? Will it be cheaper? We have this information right here instead of you having to jump into the supplier tab and add the company. This is all now here. There are some other changes to certain columns as well, mostly label changes. So we just changed the name of a couple of the columns, but further information regarding all of those changes will be available in our revision notes. So the last little thing to show is within Shroudkit, within structures. So same again, we've added some extra columns just to provide a little bit more information whilst you're in this window. So if we bring up our famous PC 1000, Shroudkit, and we'll chuck it in, let's say 100 here. And we'll full screen this as well. So we'll see over here, well, starting from here even, we've added purchase lead time, inspection days, and total purchase lead time. So this would be the lead time associated with the highest rated supplier of that particular part. Inspection days would be the inspection days associated with the highest rated supplier for that part, and then a total, which is basically the sum of these two columns. Moving on from here, so we have the next to the due in date. So for our base units, well, the PO that we just raised, we can see here that is due in the 19th of September. This database is in the past, much like same with when Matt did his demo. We have our next due in quantity, so we have 40 coming in, and we have our PO related as well. And what we can do is, if I jump into planning and next the rest of those organizations, you can get a little more information there. Yep, so these are our next due in dates. So there's those purchase order recommendations we just launched. Our next due in quantity, so 100 mice, 40 keyboards, 40 hard drives, all generated from a couple of 20 sales orders. And we also have our source here as well. So source is the one we launched there, and then we've got 3 lines that we just launched moments ago. I think that is all that's from me, and I will pass back to Kelly.
Thank you, Hayden. So just to, let me go back a slide, share my screen with everybody again. So hopefully you're able to see that presentation I had up earlier. So that concludes demo 3, in which Hayden showed you the issue history on a sales order when the sales order status changes through ticking that box in the Add Edit Company window. That change is now captured within that sales order inquiry window. So nice to sort of tie up a loose end there, really, and having that visibility of those sales status changes within sales order inquiry. The option to show tax information on those documentations where previously it wasn't there and now you've got the flexibility of choosing whether you want it on those documents that Hayden showed you. And then having that additional information within the planning window, the next cost break, quantity and cost to give you that better heads up of whether you wish to proceed with purchasing from that supplier at that cost break or not, like Hayden said, without having to jump in to another window to see that information. And then that extra visibility that we have in the trial kit window in structures, again, to give us extra visibility when running trial kit. So I just want to run you through a few extra functional changes that have come in 2025.Q3. Again, not a demonstration as such. I'll just sort of verbally go through these other changes. And like Hayden said, all of the changes that have been demonstrated or mentioned so far, and a few other bits that we haven't touched upon here in this webinar are all included in the release notes that you will have access to shortly. So another change that we've made then, as you can see from screen, is external attachments on works orders. So the concept of external attachments has been available in 123 for some time. We've had the ability to add them onto sales orders, purchase orders, quotes, etc. Well, that functionality has now simply been extended to include works orders. So through the edit works order screen or the works order inquiry screen, you'll have the ability to add in those external attachments, so those links to any external documentation. Can be quite handy because previously the only way of attaching something to a works order was through linking it to a part record and then linking that to an operation on the works order. So hopefully nice to have those external attachments in there now. Another functional change we've made is regards to works order costing, and that is that bulk issue parts will now be included within those works order costs. So previously, the functionality of bulk issue parts was in those occasions whereby we have a component on a bill of materials that we don't want to formally issue to the works order, typically for things like glue, for example. Yes, we need to include that on the bill of materials so that it gets printed on the works order so that production know they need a quantity of glue and sort of roughly what that quantity was that was needed. But we don't actually want to formally issue that to the works order itself as and when we consume that glue. So those bulk issue parts are included on the working BOM, but we don't actually have to issue them to the works order. Now, in doing that, the cost of that bulk issue part was then never actually included into the cost of the works order. So once costed, it would take what was actually issued to the works order, which of course those bulk issue parts aren't. Now they will be included. The functional part of what bulk issue parts hasn't changed. Everything that I've just mentioned still works in the same manner. We still don't formally issue them to the works order. The only change now is that when we cost the works order, the cost of those bulk issue parts will be included, and that'll be done at the standard cost of the quantity that we've put on the bill of materials. It will take that as the quantity that we would have issued to that works order and use the cost for that quantity. Another functional change that's come in 25.Q3 is in relation to accounts gateway. So previously, when a purchase invoice was entered into 123, so when we went through the supplier matching of an invoice in the system, if that invoice was found in accounts gateway, it wouldn't be posted through to the account system, but that was never made clear to the user that that was the case. We'd have to know that by either looking in the accounts gateway itself or looking in the account system and sort of finding that the purchase invoice hadn't been posted. Just to make that a lot easier for the user, a message will now pop up on screen to clearly tell us that this invoice has already been found in accounts gateway and therefore it's not been posted through to the account system. So it makes it nice and clear as to exactly what's happened in that instance. There are a couple of extra points I've listed on this slide. Points 4 and 5 there aren't actually functional features of 25.Q3. They've actually were introduced in previous versions, but I felt necessary to mention it because of the fact I think they're nice features that maybe people have completely missed in the past and didn't know that they are now features of 123, or were told about them and have forgotten them. And that is the fact that you can drag and drop a window out of 123 onto a separate monitor. So if, say, for example, we've opened up the add edit sales order window, and it would be nice to see that sales order alongside maybe the structure that we're selling, or if we want to open up the part screen, maybe that new stock inquiry screen, for example, we want to have those two windows open and see them side by side, then to make that easier, a reminder that you can take a window, drag it out of the core application and pop it onto another monitor. You'll do that by holding down the control button as you sort of drag and drop it out of 123. And a reminder that you have the ability to open up the structures window twice. In all other screens, you can only open up one instance of it. So like with added sales orders, you can open it up once and view just one sales order on that screen. Now with the structures window, you can open it up twice. So therefore it is possible to open up and see two structures side by side if we want to make a comparison of those products, or maybe if we want to open up two versions of that product and again compare the two on screen. It means we can have those two windows open, either manipulate the size of them to have them open directly in 123, or as I've just mentioned, drag and drop one of those structures windows over onto a separate monitor to have them nice and big and clear to compare those two structures. So as I said, those two last points are not features directly of 25.Q3. They're already in existence, but worth mentioning them because they are nice features that hopefully make the day-to-day use of 123 a little easier. So moving on to what else is new for this current year, and these things listed are not functional changes. They are simply new things that we've introduced as a company this year. We have sent out various newsletters covering these points. So hopefully these points aren't totally brand new to you, but if you are not on the mailing list for those newsletters and have missed these points, or I get it, you know, a newsletter lands in your inbox and you don't have the time to read it, or you just sort of delete it or mark it as read straight away, then again, I don't think there's any harm in reminding you of the fact that we have these 3 new things that have launched this year. We have Flex Services. It is our new points-based offering in which you can purchase a number of points, and those points can then be spent on services such as on-site or online consultancy. They could be spent on education, so they can be spent on booking onto our training courses. They can also be used for upgrades. So if on the back of this webinar, you're really keen to get upgraded to 25.Q3, if you do already have Flex Services and you've got some points available, they can be used to pay for an upgrade to 123 if you want us to do it for you. They can be used to pay for technical services, etc. We do have catalogues available that will highlight all of the services that those points can be spent on and how much each of those services will cost in terms of points. And if you want access to that catalogue, or if you want to know more about the Flex Services offering, because there are 3 different packages we offer, then more information can be found via our website, and also by reaching out to Joe as your account manager. He'll be more than happy to share more information on Flex services. Once we have concluded this webinar this morning, a little later on today, I will send out an email to all of you that will summarise these points that I've got on screen here with links to the website and the contact details that you need for, say, Joe or whoever else you may need to contact regarding any of these points. So I will send an email later today. Something else we've launched this year, we've only launched it in the last few weeks, is our ideas portal, and that's very much a chance for you to have your say. If you've got any new development requests you'd like to raise with us, rather than dropping that on an email to us or picking up the phone, running that through with us, we log that on a system in which we will then internally talk about that and discuss whether we want to proceed with that request or not and put it into action. Rather than going through that process, you can now log into the ideas portal in which you can just directly raise that request, so cutting us out as the middlemen, and you can see requests that other customers have logged. That means you can stay up to date on those requests, track the progress of those requests, whether they're going to be actioned or not. And what's really nice is you can vote on those requests. So if somebody else has logged something and you think, oh, actually, that's a really good idea. In fact, I'd like to see that implemented myself. Well, you can vote on that request, and that will then drive our priority list for development. You know, those requests that have the most votes are naturally going to make their way to the top of that priority list when we are putting in plans for the next release of 123. If you want a login to that ideas portal, you will need to be a trained user. We didn't want to make it available to everybody and it'd be a complete free-for-all. So to make it fair and to limit that, it is only available for our trained users. And if you are a trained user and you want access to that portal, then let us know and we'll certainly activate an account for you. So we can make that happen pretty quick. The last thing then to mention that we've launched this year is our customer advisory boards. Now, for some of you that have been customers for many years, you'll remember that previously we used to run focus groups. If we were looking to develop a new area of 123, and that was something that was quite major and something we certainly needed customers' input on, then we would run a focus group and we would invite people to join that focus group to have that their say and shape the development of that particular functionality that we were introducing. We're bringing those back. We're now calling them customer advisory boards. And as I said, it's really a chance for you to fine tune that development and have your say and opinion on that development that we're making. We are going to be running our first customer advisory boards next month. So over the next few weeks, we're going to have a customer advisory board dedicated to core 123, and then a separate customer advisory board dedicated to 123 mobile. We do have some spaces available on both of those. Again, spaces are limited. We do have some spaces available. So if you like the sound of that and would really like to have your say on the development of either 123 or 123 mobile, or indeed both, then again, get in contact with us quickly before those spaces get fully booked, and we'll get you an invitation sent out to those customer advisory boards. And again, on that email that I'll send out later today, you'll have contact details and the dates of when those two customer advisory boards are running. So on the back of this morning's webinar, when you are ready to upgrade to 25.Q3, let us know. The upgrade can, of course, be managed by yourselves. We can send that upgrade over to you with instructions for you to fully manage that process yourselves. And I know some of you out there have gone through that process many times, will be more than comfortable to upgrade without any assistance from us. But if you do want a seamless, risk-free process, then why not consider us managing that for you? So we can upgrade 123 for you, run tests of that as well to ensure a very smooth and seamless upgrade for you with very little input from yourselves. If you want us to upgrade, then please contact the email address that I've got on screen there. So that's customercare@123insight.com for more information on that process, exactly what's involved in that process, and the cost of doing so. We'll happily share that with you. And remember, if you've already got the Flex Services package, or if you're looking to take one of those packages, then you can use your Flex Services points to pay for those upgrades as well. If you've got a few kicking around, why not use them for an upgrade? One final thing to share with you all is a new CRM initiative that we're going to be looking to launch shortly. Now, this is for those of you who currently don't have the CRM functionality. Now, previously, if you were looking to take CRM, that would be a process of us carrying out some demonstrations with yourself so that we can demonstrate the key CRM functionality. And hopefully on the back of that, of those demonstrations, you can make a decision of whether you think CRM is right for you. And in making that decision, we would then activate CRM, and your monthly subscription costs would go up as a result. Now, I do appreciate that it can be hard to make a decision of whether CRM is right for you on the back of a few demonstrations and conversations. So to help with that, what we're going to start doing is allowing two people from your company, two employees, to attend some CRM training with us. So that'll be a formal training course, like with all of the other training courses that we run, so that you can get fully up to speed with all of the CRM functionality. On the back of that training, you can then enter a 30-day free trial period. So we'll activate CRM for you for 30 days, in which you can then really get your hands on it, put into practice what you've learned on that training course. And by the end of those 30 days, you can then actually make a very well-informed decision as to whether CRM is a good fit for your company. And you're thinking, how on earth did we go so long without CRM? It's vital for our processes, and now we couldn't do without it. We need to keep CRM, in which case we will activate it and you'll start paying the monthly subscription for doing so. Or at the end of those 30 days, you may decide that actually it's not right for you. You can walk away without having spent a penny, and we won't obviously charge you for that month that you've been using CRM. So hopefully a good initiative for any of you out there who has already been toying with the idea of CRM. What we'll do is shortly pencil in some dates for training courses. Once we've done that, we'll send out an email to everybody to let you know we've got these dates for the training courses. If you wish to book 2 people on there, let us know. Again, spaces will be limited. And as soon as you've had your training, you will then enter that 30-day free trial period. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time and attention this morning. As I said, I know we allocated 3 hours. That was me. I totally overworked how long it would take us to go through these demos and talk through those slides. I always allow more time than what's necessary, really. But that does conclude the webinar. Covers all of those key functionalities that we've introduced in 25.Q3. As I've mentioned a few times already, later on today, I'll pop an email out to everybody that contains useful links, contact details and pieces of information. For example, the predefined bins when you're switching those on, there are a few points that you'll need to consider. So I'll put those on an email for anybody who's quite keen to switch on predefined bins once they've got their hands on the new release. Those points about flex services, the ideas portal, how to upgrade to 25.Q3. And if I can, I'll also put a copy of the release notes on those emails as well, so that you have all of the details that we've covered today and more, and the few extra points that we haven't covered, like, for example, bug fixes that have been done in 25.Q3, any SP or SDK changes that there may be. They'll all be covered in those release notes. Of course, if post this webinar, you want to know more about anything that's been mentioned today, please do get in contact with either myself, a member of my team, or your account manager, Joe. Again, I'll be sharing those contact details as part of that email. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time and attendance. If anybody has any further questions, feel free to pop them on the chat. We'll continue to monitor those. But thank you very much, everybody, and I'll wish you a lovely afternoon. So thank you, and thank you to our presenters today.